Hello, it's Rebecca here from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I'm designing a layout for Papermaze, and I'm using another collection by P13 this month. This one is called Soulmate, and it is equally as beautiful as Beyond the Sea was. I really love it. So I'm going for a layout, and I'm going to use patterned paper for my background. Something I'm liking a lot of with these P13 collections. I wouldn't dare do it with any other collections, but with these I'm really drawn to these patterned papers. So I've selected two here. I've got paper number 7, which is the wood grain effect there. You can't see it that well on camera, but it's got a really faint, really lovely leaf pattern all over it. So I'm using that as kind of like my background sheet, and then I've cut a small square of paper number 6 to sit on top, and that has a like a Hessian type pattern on it, and it's really lovely, probably one of my favourites in this collection. So I'm going to have that sitting in the middle, but I felt like it was getting a little bit lost on the background, so I've got a piece of brown bazzill cardstock here from the Matchmaker pack. I've cut it ever so slightly bigger, and I'm going to sit that behind it to give it some separation so that that Hessian paper doesn't get lost on the background. And as always with me, I have to distress all the edges. I really love doing this. It adds so much texture to a layout, and I really feel like it lifts it and just makes it a lot more interesting. When I sat down to create this layout, I had this idea in my head of these two papers. But that's as far as the idea had got in my head, and I hadn't even picked out photos. So I just grabbed some photos that I had printed out, just kind of to play around with, just trying to decide if I wanted one or two and whether I wanted a landscape or a portrait. And I was getting really frustrated at this point because I couldn't decide, and I realised it was because I hadn't selected a photo. So I ended up walking away from this layout, leaving it for a few days. And then once I had decided on a photo, I found it so much easier to bring the layout together. So whilst I was taking a couple of days off, I took the opportunity to fussy cut loads of bits and pieces from this collection. So I've got all of the florals. They are from paper number 2, and they're really beautiful, kind of creamy beigey colours. And then there's a sheet of paper in the collection that's covered with moths, and I fussy cut a load of those as well. That's paper number 3. I think that was the B side, the moths. And then another sheet, I've got 2 sheets of paper number 7. So the background paper there with that wood grain is 7, and on the back of that you've got a whole sheet of elements that you can fussy cut. Exactly the same with most P13 collections, if not all. Paper number 7 is your kind of fussy cutting sheet, and it's just got loads of images on. It's brilliant. So it helps you to really stretch the collection and get loads out of it. So what you saw me do there was gut a couple of the papers, and that was just so that I didn't waste any and I can use those off-cut sections in other layouts. These collections are so beautiful, you really don't want to waste any of it. So if I'm creating a frame or a centerpiece like this, I always gut the paper rather than have it covered up and wasted. So now I've done that and I've stuck my centre down there, I'm going to add a couple of layers behind my photo. So I'm bringing in that brown bazzill cardstock again from the Matchmaker kit, and I'm also going to use the offcut of the wood grain paper there, paper number 7, to add a second layer behind that. And again, I'm distressing all the edges. So I'm happy with how that's looking so far. Not really done a lot, but we're getting there. Off camera, I've added a couple of lines of stitching. So I've, just with my sewing machine and a white thread, I've gone around the edge of that Hessian patterned paper, and I've done the same thing on the brown bazzill cardstock. So I've got 2 lines of stitching, and that just adds a little bit more interest, a bit more texture to the page and kind of gives those layers kind of a finish to them that I felt it needed. And now I can come back in and start to embellish. So I do find the embellishing process with these P13 collections really, really simple. It's normally the area I struggle with most with collections because I don't like random things. So most collections you get like a unicorn or a flamingo or a llama, just general things that they're quite specific. So I wouldn't use a flamingo unless I was going to a park that, you know, I've got a photo of my son with a flamingo, for example. But with the P13s, I find that everything is relevant. This one, not so much as Beyond the Sea, but you can still make them work. So I've got loads of those florals there from Paper 7. I've got a kind of like a pocket watch there that I've fussy cut. Sorry, no, I'm getting confused with my papers now. The florals are paper number 2. The watch was paper number 7. I've fussy cut that from, and also the owl at the top there. And the couple of leaf sprigs you can see, they're all from paper number 7. And you could argue that the pocket watch isn't relevant, but it's not random enough that I'm worried about it. So like I say, you can make the elements work in these collections, which is what I really, really love about them. I'm working on building up some clustered areas, so I've slotted all those florals and leaves in. I've added a little banner piece up at the top there, or a tab, and then I've gone through some of the other packs of embellishments you get with this collection. So I've got both packs of cardstock tags, so it's 2 and 3 they're called. That Wild at Heart one at the bottom there is from cardstock tags number 2. So I'm going to have that down the bottom there. The round circular tags you'll see me using are cardstock tags number 1. And then I've also got some stickers that go with this collection. So I've got sticker sheet number 3, which is a load of round, kind of like the size that you normally get a flare in, but they are really, really cool. I love those as well. And they just kind of all fit nicely together. And that other tag you can see there that's got that black leaf cluster on it is from cardstock tags number 3. So you get quite a few different embellishment packs with these collections. You always get a couple of the tags, sort of the dangling tags. You get the round tags and you get the round stickers as well. There's a couple of other sticker sheets you get with some of the collections, but I don't think I got those with this one. But loads of little different elements, and they're all quite small as well, and they're small packs, and they're really inexpensive compared to other brands, which really makes these collections appealing to me, because you can buy the full collection for probably £20–25 and you can get so many layouts out of them. So I really, really do love these collections. That piece there that you've just seen me cut in half quite brutally, that's the banner die cuts, and you get a set of those. I think there's about 15 or 20 in there, and they're double-sided as well. This particular one is a similar wood grain pattern to the cardstock I've used for my background, but it had a big gigantic black heart on it, which to me is a bit, I know it's a Soulmate collection and you know you love your Soulmate and to the bottom of your heart and all of that, but it's a bit freaky. So I've used that one and cut it in half so that you don't really see the heart. I've coloured it with some distress ink. That was antique linen, and that was just because it was looking a little bit too white. It needed a finish. So I've added a bit of colour to it, and it feels like that works a little bit better with the collection now. And then I'm just going around distressing some more edges. This is one of those round tags I was talking about from the cardstock tags number 1. And they're really nice size. They're probably 1.5 inches or 2 inches in diameter. They're quite big, but I really do like how they work with the layouts. So I'm just going to layer that Wild Heart tag on top of that, like so. And then coming in just to add a few finishing touches, sticking my photo down before I get carried away and forget. A lot of the things I'm raising up with foam pads, and that's because I just love to have a lot of dimension on my layouts and a lot of layering. It just makes them much more interesting and appealing to me, and casts a little bit of a shadow in areas, which again, I just find it much more interesting than having a flat layer. So this round sticker here, I've stuck on some cardstock so that I can just add some foam pads behind it, and I'm going to add some gold thread behind it. This is the We Are Memory Keepers Stitch Happy metallic gold thread that you can get at Papermaze, and I absolutely love this stuff. It just makes the best thread circles ever. My normal coloured cotton threads are just rubbish for doing this, but this metallic, I've got gold and silver, and they just work so well. So whenever Vanessa gets that in, I always tend to stock up because it goes fast. So I've added a cluster over on the right there behind that round sticker. And I'm also threading it through that wild heart tag just several times loosely, not making it particularly neat at all. It's there for some texture, so I want it to be a bit sort of hickledy-pickledy and rough, and then I'm just going to glue a couple of the bits with some glossy accents just to make sure it doesn't unravel over time. And that finishes that cluster off nicely. And then waste not, want not. You're not going to see half of this piece here. I fussy cut, so I cut it off and I can use that on another layout. Just going to add that bit at the top just to bring some colour above my photo there. It was looking a little bit bare at the top of that, so that area of the layout was a bit bare. So I'm just working my way around, just filling in some gaps and building up those clusters a bit more. And then these are those moths I've fussy cut from paper number 3. There's a whole variety of them in different colours, so I'm just having a play trying to see which ones work best. Sort of trying to bring some darker shades up to the top there and a lighter shade down to the bottom corner where I've got the black leaves. Just trying to spread the colour evenly if I can. And I've used glossy accents, and I've just stuck the middle part, sort of the body of the moth down, and left the wings free just to add a bit more dimension again. And then this banner tag that I'd cut the bottom off of, I've still got the top of the heart. Although it freaks me out a little bit, I am going to cut it out and add it up the top of my photo there. You can't really tell it's a big black heart, because it's hidden, and there's some little flowers, I think it's flowers anyway, up the top of it, so it's the kind of, you can see the top of the heart, but my eye's drawn more to the flowers, so it's not so in your face and obvious that there's a big black heart on my layout. So I'm quite proud of myself for using one of those, because that's the only thing in this collection that I had doubts over using, was the big heart. So I've got it on the page, so I'm quite happy with myself for that. And then this pattern paper here is another of my favourites. I keep saying that, they're all my favourite. This is number 4, and it's a load of letters. I don't particularly think it makes any words as it is, but you do have to remember that P13 is a Polish brand, so it may well say things in Polish that I don't understand. But I've gone through and cut some of the letters out to spell my boy, and that's going to be my title. So the B there was just looking a little bit too white, considering I had no other white on the layout. So I've used the antique linen distress ink again, just to make it a bit more kind of a yellowy brown colour. And I've just stuck those down with foam pads. And then I'm finishing off my layout with a scattering of sequins. So in this mix, there's some gold, bronze, I think there's a dark brown, and there's some pale yellows, all in different sizes. So I've just scattered those around, and I'm going to stick those down with glossy accents just to bring a little bit of bling to my layout. And that's the final touches all finished. So that is my layout. I hope you've enjoyed the video. The collection is now on the website, so you can head over and have a look at all of it there. I'll be back later in the month with another layout using this collection, so I'm not done with it yet, I've got loads left. So until then, I will leave you with the close-ups, but thanks very much for joining me.